All right. Well, hello, everyone, and welcome to our presentation on our observation findings from the videos that we watched and observed. My name's Hayden, and I am here with Jennifer, my partner, and we are looking forward to going through the observation findings with you all. So the first thing to kind of talk about is the 5 different dimensions of multicultural pedagogy that we explored within our observation findings. So throughout this presentation, we will talk about those 5 different dimensions as you see here on the screen, and then talk about successful examples of each of those that we observed and unsuccessful examples. So as you can see, the 5 different dimensions that we'll talk about are content integration, knowledge construction, prejudice reduction, equity pedagogy, and empowering school culture. So with that being said, I will turn it over to Jennifer to talk about our first 3 dimensions that we explored.
Hi, everyone. So for the first dimension, content integration, the definition from the Merlin reading is the use of examples and content from a variety of cultures and groups to illustrate key concepts in subject areas. So a successful example within our observations was in video 2, where the instructor utilized videos and reading materials that shifted away from the traditional Eurocentric narrative, instead focusing on sources that provided insight into the history of Mexican-American labor. The content selected reflected the multicultural diversity of her students and encouraged personal reflection. A non-successful example was in video 1. The observed instructor had her class working on vocabulary strategies, but it was unclear what each group was doing and if the material was connected or multiculturally relevant to the students. So knowledge construction is meant to help students understand, investigate, and determine how implicit biases within a discipline influence the ways in which knowledge is constructed. A successful example within our observation was in video 12, where the instructor provides students with time to read and discuss the materials, emphasizing the question, can truth change? This allowed students to think critically about their experiences of gender-based discrimination and gender roles conveyed, and how experience may relate or differ. The diversity of the students and the reading materials gave students various perspectives, further emphasizing the idea that knowledge construction can be based on personal experiences of the author. An unsuccessful example was in video 10, where the observed instructors were using stations and groups were working to complete the assignment. However, it was unclear whether the conversations between students and groups actually helped them understand and investigate different viewpoints or ways in which their peers' knowledge about the content was constructed. In fact, it appeared that the groups worked towards completing the assignment quickly instead of engaging with the material. And then for the next one, prejudice reduction is helping students develop positive attitudes towards different racial, ethnic, and cultural groups. A successful example was observed in video 11, where the instructor used stations to help teach about Homer's The Odyssey. The station work allowed the class to work together in small, more diverse groups in order to complete their tasks, allowing students to bring their own personal opinions, viewpoints, and learn from the diversity in the classroom. A less successful example was in video 9, where the class was dispersed in small clusters of white homogeneous groups, with only one visibly Black student appearing to be purposefully isolated from the entire class. Here we have a student that is excluded from engaging with their peers in any meaningful classroom discussion. That student had to visibly strain himself if he wished to follow along with the lesson and make an effort to participate in the discussions.
Great. Thanks, Jennifer. And then the next one that we observed was equity pedagogy, which promotes academic achievement of students from diverse groups. And so a successful example that we observed was in video 5, where the instructors utilized the inclusion model for their classroom to provide direct instruction on the first day of their lesson, and differentiation on the third day. Additionally, they utilized environmental and process differentiation to modify the learning experience and promote learning for students that express uncertainty on their understanding of the content, which in this case was ratios. And then a non-successful example we observed was in video 6, where instructors used multiple stations to teach the material. However, the setting of the classroom was too loud and definitely could prove to be distracting for some students' academic achievements within the class and within that lesson. And then the last of the 5 dimensions that we observed was empowering school culture, which entails restructuring school culture to promote student equity. A successful example we saw was in video 3, where the instructor worked towards providing a positive, engaging, and educational experience that would address the academic and behavioral needs of her students. This is through collaborative work between all the adults that are present or involved in the educational process, as well as the instructor herself. And then a non-successful example we saw was in video 7, where they talked about students with autism and explaining meltdowns of students with autism. And while the observation and the information in the video and it was really good in addressing and educating on meltdowns, it definitely would have been more successful. It also showed how educators could have reconstructed the school culture and having that collaboration to help address those meltdowns that are experienced by students with autism. So with all that being said, really the big conclusion that Jennifer and I found was that it's incredibly important that instructors and teachers and general education teachers are implementing multicultural pedagogy within the classroom, because it's vital to creating an equal educational opportunity so that all students can succeed. And so, as you can see, we saw some really successful examples of how instructors were able to incorporate and implement multicultural pedagogy within these 5 dimensions, then also what were some unsuccessful ways. And so it's really important for us as we're thinking about becoming general education and teachers and general educators to make sure that we're implementing these dimensions within our classrooms, within our education, for students to have that opportunity to succeed. So that's our presentation. Here are our 2 slides of references. So our 2 articles that we reference, as well as the 12 different videos that we looked at. So thank you all for taking the time to watch our presentation, and hope you have a great rest of your day.